back with another book roundup and maybe even kill a couple birds with one stone today. I have some other things I might talk about too. So books I've been reading since last time I was on here doing a book roundup. By the way, the camera's more stable. You're welcome. I'm working on it. The last time I was on here doing a book roundup, I talked about Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. And I mentioned that it was so great that I went out and bought a copy. Here is that copy. Beautiful looking copy of Howl's Moving Castle. I've also watched the film. Look at that. That is like a classic addition to your book. That's an old-fashioned feel, you know. That's a classic addition for your bookshelf. And it is going to sit with classics on my bookshelf next to Jane Eyre and Little Women and Pride and Prejudice and a few other books that I really love. This book is that good. It's a keeper. It's a strange story, but I really enjoyed it. And the movie, which had actually a different story, I also really enjoyed that too, but the stories were quite different now that I've seen it again. And I honestly, I haven't made many notes in my media journal on it yet, but it's so good that I am planning to, at my leisure, maybe during the summer, reread this and watch the film again and maybe make some notes. Really good. And of course, the reason that I'm doing this so much is because I am trying to write in a fantasy genre, and I feel the need to read deeper and know more about the genre, be able to talk about the genre with different people, be able to know where my book fits in, what kind of writing voice I like. And the voice in this book is just great. It's delightful. She's a really good character, and the other characters are really different. Michael is different. Howl, of course, is different. She's got these sisters, Letty and is it Margaret, I think? That are, again, very different. The mother character in this book, Fanny, is different. And by the end, how she sees Fanny, because, small spoiler if you haven't read this book, Sophie experiences a curse from the Witch of the Waste, I think she's called. And she's turned into a little old lady. From a young woman into a little old lady. So she instantly now has back problems, racing heart, feels her limitations, and of course she ends up in Howl's Moving Castle. And Howl is this wizard who has a reputation of eating the hearts of young women, and in fact he's just kind of a heartbreaker, and he's looking for love himself. And of course they really hit it off, and there's lots of sparring and great dialogue, but she's a little old lady, so she can get away with a lot more things, and it's great for her confidence. And that is something that happens as you age, you know, you do gain confidence. So I really loved this book. I really loved how she gained perspective. She gained perspective on other characters, like for example her stepmother, who she didn't have a lot of sympathy for, and she listened to things that her sisters said about her and things. By the end of the book, she's like, I realized that Fanny is just a very young woman, and she deserves love, and she's doing her best. And what a great story, and great lessons, and really recommend. The movie's quite a bit different. I would say the movie's almost a completely different experience, maybe just loosely based on the same characters. A lot more symbolism of war. Howl has different problems in this book. The scarecrow is used differently in the movie, rather than the book. But this, just a fabulous reading experience, and this book is so nice to have. Wow, this is a beautiful. I'm trying not. You notice a lot of people on like Book Talk, they have this big library behind them, and they have so many books, and it looks like they have so much money wrapped up in books. And I just think about what their house would look like after a tornado went through and everything's destroyed. And that this is one of the things maybe you see as when you're a little old lady, Sophie, and you've had it with having all the stuff. It also looks beautiful in goals, but I'm trying not to accumulate more books, and I did get this one, and believe me, that's hard, because books are like maybe the one weakness. Maybe I like books and I like mugs, I like a few things, but yeah, books are a hard thing to have less of, but I do, at this point in my life, I'm trying to have less. Anyhow, the next book that I read, and I don't have it in here anymore because, again, it was a library book, and it was selected for me by my daughter because of a birthday tradition that she has for my birthday, which is she goes to the library at her high school and she selects me a book, and she selects me a nice big fat book. So last year on my birthday I read Fourth Wing, and then she got me the sequel right after, and I read most of the sequel. I'm trying to remember, was it called Iron Lung? I can't remember, something. And then I sort of, it wasn't really for me. Again, there was sex, and the way the sex is in the story, it just wasn't for me. And I don't mind sex in a story at all, but it just wasn't really for me. And so, but this year she got me Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, and I'll stick a picture in here somewhere of the cover of that. And I really enjoyed that read as well. It's about Shiori, who part of the book she's mute. She's not actually mute. She's muted. Her character is muted for part of the story because of a curse again, and people call her Lena for part of the book, which is not her name. She's actually Shiori, and she's a princess, and something has happened to her and her 6 brothers, who've been turned into cranes with like red, like capped cranes, sort of. That's where the 6 Crimson Cranes of the title comes in. She also has a little paper crane that she folds, whose name is Kiki, and because Shiori, of course, has some magic, she's able to imbue Kiki with life, and Kiki's like her little best friend who flies around, and she has to hide her sometimes, but Kiki can go places and do things sometimes when Shiori is not, and it was a very cool plot device in the book. I liked the romance in this book, how it was done. It did end a little like sequel baity right at the very end, and I don't even know if the sequel is out, and I don't know if I'll read it. Not sure sequel baity is a recommended way to end a book, but it was a great book, and it's a big, I like a big book, you know, a big book where you can just disappear into the world. And again, it was, I almost, for some reason I've gone off this, but I almost got this out, and it cramped up my hand because I wanted to copy out long passages about, it's set in a sort of fantasy China, and the way that she talks about food, about, you know, the creaminess of an egg, or, you know, the spices that they use, or different things about food, just the loving the food, the monkey cakes at the festival, and all this kind of stuff, you know, and the folklore of it, about the moon lady, and you know, the stories, and the mountain that all the demons supposedly reside in, and all this lovely world building in this story. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. Would I say it was a 5 out of 5? I might say it was a 4 or a 3.5. It was good. It was readable. I would read more by her for sure. It's not going to make my list of absolute all-time faves of what I've read so far this year, which Howl's Moving Castle and On Natural Magic did make, and I've bought both of these now. The Girl Who's Buying Nothing has bought both of these. The next book that I read, I finished yesterday, 2 days ago. Really easy to get finished. It's A Spindle Splintered by Alex E. Harrow. I hope I'm saying that right. And it's a small book. Clocks in at 119 pages, but look at the pages. Look at that. It's like illustrated like Arthur Rackham, sort of, and she mentions Arthur Rackham. Her heroine in this book has a folklore degree and likes Rackham, and they certainly, you know, they leaned into that in the book design. I really like that. I started off reading this book, and I didn't like the character's voice right at the beginning, and I thought it was going to be a DNF. I thought it was going to be do not resuscitate for me in this book. But it wasn't. I did not finish. I did actually finish and get more into it as I went, and I thought there was some lovely writing in it. And since I already had gotten from the library A Mirror Mended, I started that yesterday. So we'll see how this goes. I have these books until the 11th, and today's the 8th, I think. So, but again, it's a tiny book. It's probably a read in a day for me, so I'm going to try to get this one done. Alas, I will have to return a few library books unread. I have some regrets. I have this collection of short stories called The Wilds by Julia Elliott, and I'm fascinated by it, and yet I haven't sat down and read any. I may have been too ambitious in my library collection. I have this one which is more of a, a nonfiction, talking about castles in Great Britain, I think, mostly. And I might try renewing it again and actually not going and getting another whole pile of fiction. And I haven't read Beowulf, so there you go. That's shameful, right? I should definitely read that. And again, this might not take that long to read, so maybe I will just try to renew all this. But the main one I haven't read yet, which was in my TBR pile, was After the Forest by Kel Woods. I also didn't finish Upon a Starlit Tide. I mentioned that last time, and how I had bought the book because I had to return it and couldn't renew it anymore. And it was lovely. So this is also still in the pile. So the pile's pretty tall pile still. I'm going to try. Hopefully I don't get too many more of my holds too soon. And that seems like enough to talk about today. So I won't bore you by getting into anything else I want to talk about. Come back next time if you like my little book roundups, and I'll see you then. Bye!